Hello and welcome to my January manga reading log. I'm going to go over the 23 volumes of manga that I read throughout January. So yeah, as always, let's get on with this. And the first manga that I read last month, it's February now, is Diary of a Female Read Volume 3. This I gave 4 stars. I'm really continuing to enjoy the series. I'm really liking the couple. Not that they're a couple yet, but I do like them. And we're also introduced to a new character in this volume who's one of these androgynous handsome girls. A bit like Yoi from In the Queen Moon at Dusk. And she's a very interesting character. I did like her, and it seems like there might be something that develops between her and our main character's brother, although that's very unclear whether that will actually go anywhere, because although he seems to be immediately besotted, she doesn't really seem interested, because there's a lot of rumours going around about her which are all untrue. But yeah, she wanted to change it up a bit to come back to school, because she's been away from school for a while. So yeah, I really liked her character, and she's becoming one of our main characters. I can't remember her name. I'm bad with names. But she's becoming one of her first female friends. And yeah, she was really like her. She was a very good addition, and I said there was some development with the main couple, but not a lot. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this one, and I'm really looking forward to reading more. Yeah, it's a shoujo high school romance about a girl whose mother is a mangaka, and she's quite shy and introverted, and her brother's helping her come out of her shell and maybe find a shoujo manga-esque romance. And the guy on the cover is the brother's friend, and that's the guy she's interested in. Yeah, I think it's a super cute, wholesome series, and I'm really enjoying it. Next, I read volume 10 of Insomniac's After School. This one's like a chill, wholesome read about 2 kids just spending time together after school who are both insomniacs. They both have issues sleeping for different reasons. You find out the reason why the girl has difficulty sleeping a bit further on, and it's kind of getting more into that in these later volumes. And I know there's 14 volumes in total, so there's 4 left, and I know in those last 4 volumes something's going to happen, and I don't know if the series will remain as light-hearted as it has been in those last 4 volumes, but I won't spoil anything about why. But yeah, this one was super chill, like usual. Super easy read, super relaxing read. And yeah, I really enjoy this series, and yeah, it's a slice of life with a sprinkling of romance. But yeah, it focuses on astronomy, but mainly astronomy as in photographing the stars rather than learning about the science of it. They mainly focus on the photographing it and looking through telescopes at the stars and stuff. But yeah, I enjoy this one. It's super chill. I gave this one 4 stars. I'm looking forward to reading the last volume. Yeah, this one takes place in winter, and there's a lot of shoveling of snow and winter stuff going on. Next, on the 3rd, I read A Suitable Fetish Volume 3. This one I gave 3.5 stars. Each volume so far has kind of had more of a focus on a different character. And this volume focuses on the boss, the one with the teddy bears, and the guy from the main couple, his older sister, or younger sister, his sister anyway, who's the girl on the cover there. So yeah, I finally have the answers to what the teddy bear's all about, but yeah, it's not he doesn't have a teddy bear in the way I thought he was going to have a teddy bear, considering the series was about fetishes. But no, he just, like, his teddy bear's more of like a comfort thing that he's had since he was a kid, and he's just embarrassed about it because he's a grown man now and he doesn't really want to be seen at work with talking to a teddy bear. But yeah, he is not using it for roleplay or as a fleshlight, which is what I first suspected might be going on. But no, it's a lot more wholesome than that. And the girl who also really likes teddy bears, so they kind of get to know each other's secret, and yeah, there's probably going to be a romance coming on between these two as well. But yeah, I did like them too, but I would like to see more of the main couple that we had in the first volume, which I think we might be getting more of them in the next volume, hopefully. Probably going to be getting more of these two in the next volume as well, but I like this couple. I would just like a bit more of the main couple in the next volume. Oh, hopefully. Like I said, yeah, it's a steamship. It's not as graphic as you would think, considering it's a manga about fetishes. But yeah, I do enjoy it. I enjoy a lot of steamship, even the almost strange ones. But yeah, I didn't read anything on the 4th. Then on the 5th, I read Tales of the Tendo Family, Volume 6, which I gave 4 stars. I continue to like this one. This volume concentrated more on Ran and getting her back with the Tendos rather than the Tendo family's inner workings. But the way this volume ended, where I think we're going to get more into the Tendos and what's going on with them. Oh yeah, this volume also had a backstory about Masato and the guy who's like his attendant. So we got to know about his upbringing and why he is wanting revenge on his family, but we haven't. This volume maybe just concentrated on these two. We didn't get a lot of the other Tendo family members and what they're scheming next. But I think we'll be getting into more of that scheming in the next couple of volumes with the way this one ended. But yeah, I'm happy to now know Masato's backstory and to see what his motivations are in getting revenge on his family. And Ran is committing herself to her role. So yeah, I enjoyed this volume. I gave 4 stars. I'm interested to see where things go from here. Next, on the 6th, I read, is this the first volume 1? Yeah, this is the first volume 1 of the month I read quite a few new volume 1s in January, this being the first of them. So on the 6th, I read Bride of the Death God. This I gave 3.5 stars. I did really like this one, but it was definitely different to what I was expecting it to be, mainly due to the girl. Her personality was definitely not what I was expecting. I was like in the first chapter, in the the end of the first chapter, she reveals her true colours. And I'm like, this is not how I was expecting this character to be, and I was like surprised. But yeah, even though it wasn't exactly what I was expecting, I still really enjoyed it. So this manga follows a death god who is the guy with white hair, and he reaps souls. He comes to people and he tells them, you're going to die in a certain amount of days, and he likes to see them cry and plead and beg for their life. He gets a kick out of that as a death god, and then he comes to reap their souls. But when he comes to reap the soul of this girl here, I can't remember her name. I can't remember many characters' names. But I remember Masato from Tales of the Tendo Family for some reason. And then he comes to reap her soul because she's got this disease. I can't remember what the disease is called, but it's something to do with flowers. And like flowers are growing out of her body, and eventually the flowers will consume her, like choking the life out of her. So she'll be basically consumed by flowers and basically become just a big patch of flowers. It did mention what the disease is called in the manga, but I forget. Hannah something, I think. Anyway, he comes to reap her soul and she says, "You're gonna die in 7 days." But instead of the usual begging and crying, she smiles at him and thanks him. And he's like, "Why?" That's the first time this has like ever happened. So this makes him rather interested in her, and so for those 7 days, he starts hanging around her and trying to get a reaction out of her where she shows some sort of sadness or fear, but it just doesn't happen. And then it gets to the moment where she's supposed to die, and he comes to reap her soul, but he kind of hesitates to do so, and then something happens and her disease is like reversed, and it kind of, she hasn't been cured, but it's kind of, the symptoms have dissipated a bit, so it's like gone back to the way it was in the beginning, so she now has more time left to live. And that's when she reveals her true personality, and then he kind of becomes interested and starts hanging around with her, and you like her, you learn about her, how this disease has affected her family and her relationships and all that, and you learn a bit more about her past. But yeah, most of that happens in the first chapter. And then there's another character as well who comes into it later in this first volume. But yeah, I really enjoyed this first volume, and I definitely want to read more. There's also some mysteries revolving around his past, because he has no memories of how he became a death god. He just knows that he was once human, but he doesn't remember how he went from being human to a death god. And he kind of continuously gets flickers of his past, so there's a bit of mystery going on revolving around his past as well, and it was rather interesting. And I definitely want to give this one more volumes, because I really like this first one. But even though she was completely surprised me with how her actually is, and I wasn't expecting that to be her personality. Anyway, I would recommend it. On the 7th, I didn't read anything, and then on the 3rd, no, on the 8th and 9th, and then the 10th and 11th, I read Rand Volume 1 and Volume 2, but this isn't on the bus, so it's a 2-in-1. So over the course of the 3rd and this 8th and the 9th, I read the first half, which is Volume 1, and then over the course of the 10th and the 11th, I read the second half, which is 1 and 2, and I gave this 3 stars. Right. This is, like, objectively a good manga. Like, the story's good, it's well written, it has a lot of mystery to it, but I just don't think this was for me, because I just couldn't get into it. It follows the story of twin girls, both named, what were their names again? They both have the same, Anne, both named Anne, as in A-N, not A-N-N-E or A-N-N, just Anne. And they live in this village that seems to be in the past. There's tradition in this village where one children has to be sacrificed to like these big statues of gods. It's like 4 of them in different directions. And twins, especially when twins are born, one of them's considered an evil cursed child. So the dad has to pick which one he gets to keep and which one he gets to sacrifice to the gods. So he chooses the one that the head of the village says has an evil face, and sends her to the gods and keeps the other one. But this baby ends up surviving and ends up getting taken in by some people on the mountain who were also sacrificed to the gods but managed to survive. And the other Anne ends up growing up in the village with her dad, who blinds himself with guilt after leaving the baby with the god. So now, a few years later, Anna's like 7, 8 years old. And you kind of learn the traditions of the village and how nobody's allowed to be out after dark because the gods would get them. And how nobody can live past the age of either 50 or 40, I think it was 50. As soon as someone hits 50, they mysteriously just die. And then there's this ceremony where they put them in like this thing and like carry them up into the mountains and give them to the gods. Because there's told that they can never leave like the area around the verge and they can't go beyond the mountains. Because the beyond the mountains is like the beyond, and that's where the dead go. And there's nothing past there, and you can't go there unless you die. And the only things that can pass there are birds, and birds are like the messengers and the gateway to beyond, so they're treated like with respect. But things start to happen as the two Annes end up meeting each other, and then Anne from the village starts to question whether what she's been told and whether the traditions of this village are actually true. Especially when she's given seeds that she's told are from the beyond by a bird. And there's also this guy who's like the brother of like the head of the place, and he's kind of strange and kind of encouraging Anne to like learn the truth. But yeah, it was quite interesting with everything that was going on. I just really couldn't get into it. I was struggling a bit, hence why it took me so long to read the bloody thing. But yeah, I was intrigued enough, especially by a couple of the reveals, that I might have continued this if it wasn't so expensive. These volumes are hardback and they cost quite a bit. And if I couldn't get into volume 1, will I actually be able to get into it? Well, this is a 2-in-1, so I've actually read 1 and 2. So would I actually be able to get into it if I made myself read more, or do I just say this is just not a series for me and then just give up on it? But if it had been like single volumes at normal manga price, I might have given it another one more volume at least to see where things go, because there was some things going on near the end that were a bit more interesting. But yeah, with the price of these things, I don't think it's very worth it for me to give it another shot. It's very slow paced and it takes a bit of like to get going, and there's points where not much is happening, which I'm okay with some slower paced series, but when it comes to slower paced things, I tend to prefer watching them over reading them. So maybe if this ever one day got an anime, that is a chance. It's a seinen, so it has more of a chance of getting an anime. But if this ever did get an anime, I will probably watch it, because I probably would enjoy it more in a anime format than I would reading it, with it being slower paced. But for now, I don't think I'll be continuing with the manga. But yeah, it's not a bad series. It's not badly written. The art's not bad. The story's not bad. I just don't think it's for me. So yeah, I think I'll probably be dropping this one. This does also put me off trying this author's other series, Wonder Boy, which was also on my list of most anticipated reads for this year. But that one is a completely different premise. That one is about a boy who is kind of immortal and keeps appearing throughout time and witnessing different people's lives and struggles and stuff. So I might end up liking that one a lot more. I'm just a bit more wary of picking it up now, with it also being a pricey omnibus and me not being keen on the author's other work. But I probably will at least still give the first one of that a go, because again, same author but completely different premise, so I might be able to get into that one more. Anyway, next, on the 12th, I read Our Dining Table Seconds Please, which I gave 4 stars. This one was just super cute. It's a very nice continuation to the first volume of Our Dining Table, minus the chapter at the end of the first volume of Our Dining Table, which was set a bit further into the future. This is set before that chapter, but after everything else. But yeah, it's super wholesome cuteness and a good continuation of the series. This series is just a delight. It's so cute and wholesome. It's like a BL. And the brown haired guy, because of, he was orphaned and he was taken in by relatives, and he really hated eating in front of other people because they always judged him around the dinner table. And so he tends to eat alone, but then he meets these two brothers, the little boy and the blonde guy, and they kind of become his new family, and he starts to enjoy cooking and eating in front of others again. Yeah, and it's just very cute and wholesome. It's I would definitely recommend it if you want a very wholesome BL. Of course, this is the sequel. And then I read another manga by the same creator as Our Dining Table, Lionheart. I read this on the 13th and gave it 4 stars. This is a 2-in-1, but it isn't really very wordy, so I managed to read the whole thing in one sitting. So this is a BL about childhood friends that grew up together, and they always had a very close bond and they always liked each other, but as children they didn't really know like whether it was more than friendship or not, and all their parents were obviously discouraging it, so they ended up just being very good friends up into high school, where they now are. And they realise that their feelings are definitely love. They do actually like each other. But the main guy, especially the one with black hair, is very reluctant to be in a relationship with another man because he doesn't want to be like ostracized by society or judged, and he has like a big fear of that. So he's very reluctant to be with him, but they do end up forming a relationship, obviously, and it is super cute. It's another cute, wholesome one with some drama. This one has slightly more drama than Our Dining Table, revolving around the main character's insecurities. But yeah, it's still very cute and sweet. And if you liked Our Dining Table, I would definitely recommend checking this one out. Obviously, the art is just as cute. And yeah, it was a very good read. I enjoyed it. It's more cute. It's a cute wholesomeness of Our Dining Table mixed with some more drama this time around. But yeah, it's still really good. Next, on the 14th and 15th, it took me a couple of days to read this one. I don't remember the reason why, but I could have read it in one day. I just think I was distracted by something else. I read I'll Never Fall in Love with Amino Volume 1. I gave this 3.5 stars. This one is a shoujo romance, high school romance, following a girl who is rivals with this guy. She is very, like, the camera keeps... Why do you keep doing that? That's better. She's like the second best and she wants to be the best, and he's like the only one who's better at her academically and at sports, and she thinks of him as like being a genius and like being perfect basically, because he basically can do anything, but she studies very hard and he barely studies, and he gets top grades and she's always second best, and so she makes him her rival and she's determined to beat him. But because of this, she's always staring at him in class, and he mistakes this as her liking him. But although he's academically, he's very smart. When it comes to like emotions, love, romance, he's quite naive and innocent. So he gets the impression that she likes him, and it kind of becomes a misunderstanding, and she ends up agreeing to teach him about romance and love and affection and stuff like that. But she, at the beginning at least, she doesn't actually like him. She just wants to be his rival. But obviously he gets the misunderstanding, and then she kind of goes along with it, although reluctantly, because she's not happy about it at all. But along the way she just starts to develop feelings for him, and it's very cute. It's a wholesome one. I did enjoy it, and it's only a short series. I think it's just 3 volumes. I'm looking forward to reading the other 2. it's a nice, wholesome read where it's like rivals. Well, he doesn't consider her a rival, but she considers him like a rival. And she realises that he's not so like perfect at all, and he does have flaws like everybody does. But yeah, it was a cute one. And I enjoyed it. Next, I didn't read anything on the 16th. And then on the 17th, I read Fire in His Fingertips 8, which I gave 3.5 stars. This one, they've now moved in together, and they had sex in different parts of the house, and they learned how to organise their kitchen so it works well for 2 people instead of just 1. That's what happened in this volume. And then there was a side story at the end. Well, it's not a side story, it's more just a one-shot. It's not very related to... Called... Fearing his berry after 1,000 years of desire, the villainess offers her virginity to the evil dragon, about an exiled villainess who ends up having sex with a dragon. Which was... It wasn't great. But it's just like a bonus thing at the end. Yeah, I've recently learned that this series has ended at 12 volumes, which I'm happy about because I don't know how much longer this could have gone on for with it being as it is. There's not that much plot, it's all just steam. But yeah, I don't have much more to say about it. It's Fire in His Fingertips. It's steamy. Next, on the 18th, I read A Tale's Tale, Volume 3. And then on the 19th, I didn't read anything. And on the 20th, I read A Tale's Tale, Volume 4. Both of which I gave 4 stars. This ends the series. I'm just going to put them like that. Or not. But yeah, I really enjoyed the series. Overall, I would give the whole thing like a 7.5, 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. It was short and sweet, and I really liked it. Obviously, you can see them on Volume 4. You know right from the start that these two are going to end up having a baby, and obviously you can see them with their baby on the cover of Volume 4. But that's not a spoiler because it's literally the first page is them having a baby, and then it flashes back to them in middle school and how they first met. But yeah, he has a tail. His mother has a tail. His mother comes from a village of people with tails. And because she's a foreigner, she gets a lot of prejudice against her. And also because of the tail as well. And then he gets picked on a lot and he gets bullied a lot because of the tail. And every time that someone finds out about it, they have to move around. And he meets this girl who's like self-conscious about not being able to tan. Because she's praised, I think it's softball or baseball. She plays a sport anyway, and all her teammates are tanned because they spend a lot of time outside in the summer, but no matter how much she spends outside during the summer, she cannot tan, she just burns. And she's kind of self-conscious about that. And she's the first person to learn about his tail who actually accepts him and doesn't judge him for it. And they become close in middle school until something happens that tears them apart. And then it skips forward to high school for volumes 2 and 3. And at the end of volume 3, it skips forward again to them as adults. There's also another side story side plot with her sister and her struggles with being a woman who's, I think, she's approaching 30 and she's not married and she doesn't have kids, and she's being pressured by her work to give up her job and get married and have kids, and her boss is constantly getting on her for this, but that's not really what she wants to do. She wants to keep her job, she really likes her job, but she's also feeling a bit of the pressure, and she doesn't really necessarily... She's not against marriage and kids, but she's also doesn't necessarily need to get married and have kids. It's just the people around her think she should. So she's basically, people around her at work are basically being sexist towards her because she's a woman, and they think that she should quit her job and get married and have kids. So there's a storyline revolving around that with her as well. But the main focus is on these two and overcoming the prejudice around obviously being different. So it's a very good short series about acceptance and accepting people for who they are and not judging them just because they're different. And I would highly recommend it if you want a nice, short, wholesome series with a good message. And next, I read on the 21st, I Hear the Sunspot, Volume 3. I Hear the Sunspot 4 Seasons, Volume 3, which I gave 4 stars. I love I Hear the Sunspot. It's one of my favourite BL. This volume didn't have a lot of BL. As someone else put in a review, it's a lot of boys but no love. But yeah, there's only 2 instances throughout this volume where the two of them actually interact. This volume mainly focused on Kohei starting his new job. Well, he's not quite officially started, he's an intern at the minute, but he's an intern who's interning there until he goes into full-time employment with the company. And obviously he is hearing impaired. So it focuses on the struggles of joining the workforce with a disability and how the environment and the workspace can help with that, but sometimes also hinder it depending on the company. And he has to interview other people who are in the disability program at this company. Because in Japan, there is this rule where big companies have to hire a certain percentage of people with disabilities, or else they have to pay taxes for everyone they don't have. And the more severe the disability, the less people they have to hire. So it's called being hired on the special hiring program or something like that, I think it was called. And obviously he's interviewing other people who were hired at the company who have disabilities. Not all of them have hearing disabilities. One of them's partially sighted, one of them's in a wheelchair, one of them has some sort of, it says an internal organ disability, it doesn't exactly say what organ, but I think it's probably something to do with his heart. So yeah, this volume focuses a lot on disabilities in the workplace. And obviously people judging him, saying he had took the easy route because he was hired by the company so they can avoid paying taxes on not hiring disabled people, even though that's not true, and this company's actually quite good with their disabled employees and they do try to help them out. He also has to deal with a jerk who he works with, who is treating him rather badly and stuff like that. So this volume mainly focused on the struggles of having a disability in the workplace. It was a very good volume, it just wasn't a lot of BL between the two mains in this one, but we've kind of, most of the issues that Kyohei was facing at work has been sorted out in this volume, apart from one of the ones with the partially sighted guy seems to be very hostile towards him for seemingly no reason. So that's the only issue that he was facing that hasn't really been sorted out. So the next volume, I reckon, will get back into showing them being a couple a bit more. Because I do like the series, and I enjoy the characters. And I did really enjoy this volume, but I just want a bit more of them interacting. We still have the stuff with Taichi's dad up in the air as well, that hasn't been resolved yet. So maybe we'll get back into that in the next volume too. But the covers are always very nice. I really like the covers of this series. There was a side story at the end as well about Kohei getting his driver's license and him and Taichi going on a road trip together, which was very cute. Oh yeah, and there's also Taichi is working at a company that called Sign, which helps people with hearing disabilities. And there's a guy who's recently started at his company who's being a bit troublesome. That might go. That was something that was in the previous volume that wasn't as focused on in this one as well. So we might also get more of that in the next volume. Next, on the 22nd, I read Tepeki, I think that's how you say it, Honeymoon, Volume 1. I gave this 3 stars. Did I? Yeah. This one is a romance series that follows a girl who's in debt. And in order to pay off her debt, she agrees to pretend to be the fiance of this guy who's heir to a security company, and he works as a bodyguard. So she moves in with him as his fake fiance in order to get his family off his back, because he's in competition with someone else to take over the company. I think it's his cousin. And the person who gets to take over the company is the person who's the strongest, so like they fight each other. But yeah, she's now pretending to be his fiance. This is an age gap. She is, I think, 16 and he's in his 20s. But I'm not sure what to make of this one. I'm not really invested in the couple. I don't know whether I really like the couple or not, but so I'm going to give it one more volume like I usually do with romance series, because sometimes it can take me a couple to get invested into the couple and start liking them. The story was also a bit strange as well. But yeah, I do want to give this one one more volume, because there's a chance I could really start enjoying the couple in the second volume, so yeah. Right now I'm on the fence, but I want to give it one more. And unlike with Land, it's not as pricey. So I don't mind trying another volume, especially with romances. It can take me a couple to start really liking the couple. Because when it comes to a romance manga, if I don't like the couple, there's not much point in me reading it because I'm not going to enjoy it. But I didn't hate the couple. I'm just not keen on them at the minute. I'm not bothered either way, so I need to actually want them to be together and enjoy their relationship in order to read a romance. So right now, I'm not bothered whether they're together or not. So I need to read the next one to see whether I start liking them together, and if not, then I'll just not continue. But yeah. Every day they have to like sit on each other's knees and take pictures to convince the family that they are actually in love. Anyway, next. On the 23rd, I read Double the Trouble, Twice as Nice. This one I gave 3 stars. No, 3.5 stars. I did actually enjoy this one. This one follows a woman in her, I think she's in her early 20s, mid-20s. It's in her 20s anyway. She's recently broken up with her boyfriend, and she's down in the dump. She's in danger of being kicked out of her apartment because she's in debt, and she hasn't. Another one where the main character's in debt, and she hasn't been able to pay the bill, so she's been in danger of being kicked out. So she's basically down on her luck, and on the way home from work, she sees this little boy lying in the road, and she's like, "Why is there a kid here? Why is he fainted in the middle of the street? Where are his parents?" And she panics and she doesn't know what to do, so she ends up just taking him home so he can recover, and then she's taken with the priest the next day once he wakes up and try to find his family. But in the process, she ends up falling asleep, and when she wakes up, this little boy has turned into a 18-year-old guy. And she's like, "Where's the kid gone? What happened to the kid? Why is this hot man in my house?" And then it turns out the guy and the kid are the same person, and that he has some sort of... We don't actually know what's going on with him, but he is 18. He is 18. He's not a kid. He wears this collar, and when it comes off, he turns into a kid. For some reason, but he is actually 18. He's not a kid turning 18. He's an 18-year-old turning into a kid. So yeah, I was unsure whether this one would be weird or not when I decided to pick it up, but nothing weird happens when he's a child. She's not doing things with him that she shouldn't when he's in a child's body. But yeah, this one is an age gap as well, but not an age gap because he's a child, an age gap because he's 18 and she is in her 20s, but they are both over 18. So yeah, she ends up... This guy is mysterious and she doesn't know who he is or why he turns into a child. Us as readers currently don't know why he turns into a child. He briefly mentions something, but it's not really gone into. So he begs her to let him live with her, and in exchange he'll like look after her house and cook her meals and stuff, but she's like, I'm in danger of being kicked out, and so he like pays her debts, and she's like, well, now I have to let you live with me because in order to pay you back. And then later on in the volume you find out who he is, and yeah, I enjoyed this one, and this one I will definitely be continuing. I did enjoy the couple in this one more than in Topeki Honeymoon. I enjoyed it. They're not my favourite couple as of right now, but I enjoyed it. I did like them more than the one in Topeki Honeymoon so far. Yeah, I will be continuing this one, definitely. I enjoyed it. I thought it was quite sweet. And it's not weird. She doesn't... When it comes to romantic gestures, he's always in his adult body. He's never a kid. So if you were a bit reluctant to try this one because he is a kid half the time, then nothing weird happens when he's a kid. It's fine. He maybe just turns into a kid to suit his own agenda, to like get people to underestimate him and like manipulate people. Next, I read Mechanical Marie Volume 1. I read this on the 24th and I gave it 4 stars. Out of these 3 volumes, this one was my favourite. I really like this one. So this one follows... He's an heir to a company and he's like... Everyone's trying to assassinate him, basically, or steal his money or kidnap him because he's like very, very wealthy, and because of this he distrusts humans completely. So this is another one where the main girl's in debt. There's a lot of shows where the main girl's been in debt. But yeah, she's in debt. In order to pay off her debts, she agrees to pretend to be a robot and become his maid. So she's presented to him and said, this is Marie. She's a robot maid. And he's like, oh my god, I love robots. So he's immediately besotted with her. And although he acts very cynical and very hateful towards humans because he thinks she's a robot, he dotes on her and he absolutely adores her and he's very affectionate with her. And she has to remain stoic the entire time and pretend to be a robot and pretend that she doesn't have feelings. And it's quite funny because of that. And he asks her questions like, what do you live off? And she says, well, I live off batteries. And so he's like, how do you absorb the energy from these batteries? So she shoves a battery in her mouth and she's just sitting there sucking on a battery. So now, from that point on, he's convinced that she loves batteries. So he's constantly getting her batteries and putting them in her mouth. Yeah, I really like this one. It was funny. And I did like the couple. It was also wholesome. But obviously... Come on. As the volume goes on and she starts to interact with him more and see his true personality, she starts to fall for him. So she's getting a bit harder for her to remain emotionless around him because she's starting to develop feelings for him. And yeah, it's very cute and funny and I really like this one. And I'm even more excited to watch the anime now, as well as definitely continue this one. I don't think it's a long series. I think it's like 7 or 8 volumes, but yeah. I really like this one. I highly recommend it if you want a good rom-com. So yeah, it was really good. There's her with a battery in her mouth. Just sucking on those triple A's. Next, I read Suzuki-kun's Mindful Life, Volume 1. I gave this 4 stars. This is a super sweet slice of life manga about Suzuki, who is a guy. He looks very scary, but he has hobbies that are considered traditionally feminine, like he likes to do the housework, he likes to bake. He's actually very sweet despite his appearance, and he gets bashful easily. And people always judge him for his appearance or make fun of him because of his hobbies. And he's just started high school, and he meets this boy. Oops. This boy here on the back, who is small in stature but actually very strong. He does martial arts. And they become friends, and he kind of accepts him for who he is, and it's a very form a bond together. And this is his little sister, who is also very cute. And the woman holding her hand is her kindergarten teacher, who he develops a crush on as soon as he sees her. But she also isn't who she looks sweet and innocent and like a typical kindergarten worker who loves kids and is super like wholesome and straight-laced. But in actuality, she loves playing online shoot-'em-up video games, and she likes drinking beer and getting drunk and passing out from drinking. But obviously she can't let her employer know this, because although it is in her personal life, and it wouldn't affect her work because she's great at her job and she does love her job, she would rather keep it private in her private life, because she doesn't want the parents of these little kids who leave their children in her protection to know that she's a drunkard who plays first-person shooters all night. Because it would kind of break a bit of the trust to know that their kids are being handled by someone who passes out drunk when she's not at work. So she tends to keep that to herself. But yeah, it was super cute and wholesome, and he's such a nice guy. He looks scary, but he's actually adorable. And he just loves baking and giving everyone cookies and sweets. And their friendship, the two of them's friendship was very wholesome as well. And I'm looking forward to reading more. It's a super, you want a super sweet slice of life series, check that one out. Next, on the 26th and the 27th, I read Seraph at the End, 32 and 33. Can I get you to stop? No. I have trouble when it's a double. But yeah, stand up. We have now concluded the flashback about going through Yu's memories to find out his origins. That's done now, and we're now back and focusing on the present. There we go. And yeah, things are coming. In the author's notes at the end, the author does mention that the series is kind of in its climax now, even though it hasn't ended yet, and it's still like 4 volumes behind Japan, so it must be a very long climax. But yeah, the vampires, the angels, the demons, the humans, they're all driving towards their own plots and their own motivations, and some people are working with others, some people are working against others. You don't know who to really trust. Ferrets started eating people, like swallowing them whole or biting them in half. A character that has been in the series for quite a lot of time got eaten, and I wasn't expecting it. And obviously you and Mika are kind of coming up with their own plans to find the best outcome for everything, and yeah. I enjoy Seraph at the End. It's not the best written out of all the series I read. It certainly doesn't have the best written characters out of all the stories I read, but I can't help but enjoy it. I've been on this series since volume 1, and I don't read a lot of like action shonen, But this one is one I've always stuck with and I've always enjoyed. And yeah, I really like it. Even though it's possibly would be considered a guilty pleasure, I really like this one. And I'm going to stick with it until the end. So yeah, the Seraph of the End. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to continuing and seeing if Farrah eats anybody else. On the 28th I didn't read anything, and then on the 29th I read Volume 2 of Raw, A Star in the Abyss. I gave this one 4 stars. The family in this one are complete utter arseholes, and I want to see them taken down. Our main character is treated terribly. Their son, who is in a wheelchair, is also treated terribly. The daughter's a complete arsehole, that's her on the front cover. And so is the mother, and the father's just like complacent and everything. He doesn't stand up for anything. He doesn't try to help. He doesn't necessarily harass her like the mother and daughter do, but he doesn't stop it. And also in this volume you find out he tries to prevent her from becoming a TV star. Obviously she's approached by this director who wants to make her into a movie star. And the dad doesn't want that because the dad definitely does not want her in the public eye because there's some sort of scandal around her birth that I'm not sure fully what's going on there. But oh yeah, I'm very intrigued to learn more about her birth and why the dad really definitely doesn't want her in the public eye and whose kid she actually is. Because obviously the parents she lived with originally were her adopted parents, and I don't think these people are actual parents, they're just pretending to be. And the mother's very manipulative. And she's definitely in control of the family. And yeah. And this ended on a cliffhanger, and I was like, I wasn't expecting that, and I just want to read more. I want to see her get her revenge, and I want to see this family completely destroyed and taken down. I do love a good josei drama series with a lot of like melodrama and this sort of thing. It's why I liked Something's Wrong with Us so much, and why I liked Burn the House Down. And if Burn the House Down could get a physical English reach, that would be very good. I would definitely want to read that if it came out physically. I know it's already out digitally, but I really want to read it physically because I enjoyed the drama on Netflix. But yeah, anything like Burn the House Down, Something's Wrong with Us, this, Guilty, which I haven't read yet, but I do want to read. This is by the author of Guilty. I like that sort of thing. Very dramatic josei dramas. I do enjoy them. And the more horrible the characters, the more I want to see them get destroyed. Like the aunt in Burn the House Down. I wanted to see her taken down so bad. Next, I read Loving Moondog Volume 2 on the 30th and gave it 3.5 stars. As a manga, I enjoy this. As a steamship, it doesn't need to be a steamship. It's really not that bad. Literally nothing happens beyond a bit of kissing and touching. There is no nakedness, there's no full-on intercourse, nothing like that. There's not even... as I said, other than kissing and a bit of touching of the boobas, there's not really anything going on that would make this warranted to be a steamship. It's no more steamy than something like... can't think of an example right now. But there's definitely non-steamship titles released by other publishers that are on the same steam level as this. So Seven Seas could have just released this under the normal imprint. And it didn't need to be a steamship. Though as a steamship, it's disappointing because it's not smutty. But as a manga and a story, I do enjoy it. I do enjoy that she is a dog groomer. I like dogs. And that there's a lot of dogs in the story, and he himself is a guy who turns into a dog. And in this volume we also get to meet his brother, who is another guy who turns into a dog. And there's a golden retriever, and there's and it's cute. And she's looking after her friend's toy poodle. And I love the toy poodle. Obviously, because he can turn into a dog when he's in a dog form, he can understand what dogs are saying, and the toy poodle was quite funny, and I really liked him. And I hope he's a recurring character, because I really like him to come back into it. Obviously, she's only looking after him for this one volume, and he's now gone back to her colleague and neighbour. But yeah, I really liked him, and I would like to see more of him. He is an actual dog. He doesn't turn into a person. You can just understand him because he can speak dog. And yeah, I really like the toy poodle. And these two and the relationship hasn't really gone anywhere yet, but this is quite a long series. It is over 10 volumes. So it's probably going to take a bit for the relationship to get going, even though it is a steamship and they tend to get it on in the first volume of steamships. Not with this one. I'll be quite surprised if they even end up getting it on at all, to be honest. I don't think it'll be shown. Yeah, where's the poodle? Where's the poodle? There he is. There's the poodle. There's the poodle. He's quite a dramatic poodle. He's one of my favourite characters now. I love this poodle. And there's even a bonus story about him. Called the prom tree or something. It's a bonus story about how he was first found and when he first started living with his new owner, and obviously he was found he was from a puppy farm and he was completely matted, and obviously her being a groomer ended up shaving him and taking all his hair off, and then she decided to take him in and adopt him after that because they thought no one's going to want him until his fur grows back, so she takes him in and adopts him, and it was quite sad. But look at him all shaved, he looks so pathetic. But yeah, I really like that poodle. And then there's a side story about the golden retriever who's an old man. Yes, cute dogs. Then on the 31st I read Queen's Quality Volume 22, which I gave 4.5 stars. I love Queen's Quality. This one finishes the backstory about Fumi's mother. And then we get back into the present day, and they all sort of formulating their plans as to how to take on what's-his-face. I can't remember his name. But they're all formulating their plans about how to take him on, and then some stuff happens with the White Queen. And which is obviously going to continue into the next volume, but I love Queen's Quality. It ends in 3 more volumes, so obviously this is near the end. It's already ended, but I haven't... It ends in 3 more volumes for me, because I'm only on 22. I think 25 isn't quite out yet, but I think 23 and 24 are. But it might be. I'm unsure. But yeah, I really love Queen's Quality. It's a fantasy action shoujo series. And it's great. I would recommend it. And I really enjoyed the backstory and getting to know Fumi's mother. And yeah. Interesting to... Everything's obviously going to come to a conclusion now with the last 3 volumes mainly focusing on dealing with Yanagi, that's his name. That's his name, I've remembered. So yeah. Really like it. It was the final read of the month, and I've already started reading for February, as it's already the 6th. And I'm also waiting for the Love and Deep Space update to come out on the 10th, so I'll probably most likely not be reading on that day, because I'll be putting for Cyrus, and if I manage to get him, which I probably will, I've been saving my gems, I will be reading that instead of a manga, like I usually do. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. What interesting things have you read this month? What was your favourite? Did you read anything you weren't keen on? I'd like to know in the comments. So yeah, I'll see you next month for more videos, and bye bye.